welcome everybody. I'd like to call the regular city council meeting of August 12th, 2024 to order. Ms. Cassandra.
Mayor David Romero,
Here.
Councillor Marvin Martinez,
Present.
Councillor Barbara Casey, Councillor Michael Montoya, Councillor David Ulivari.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Councilman Ulivari will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pro Tem Montoya will lead us in a moment of silence.
Let us recollect all the people that have passed away this last few weeks and their families. We pray to the Lord also for all the blessings for our water crisis having gone over and beyond to solve the issues. We ask in thanksgiving for our business community also. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Ulivari.
keep our prayers to the terrible accident that happened on North Grand Avenue to the kid that passed away in that accident and that mom and the dad that got burned pretty bad and the girl. Keep him on our prayers. It was very, very tragic accident. Just pray for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me add to that real quick, Councilor. And also to those fire and police response, everybody that, and all city employees and those that came to the aid of those that, of the accident, because it wasn't an accident that, you know, even they're dealing with much, so. Councilor Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, let us remember in prayer the family of Anselmo Chemo Valdez, who owned Gambles, and he was a businessman in Las Vegas, had been the owner of Gambles since the 1983, I believe, and was a friend to many people in Las Vegas. And we want to hold their family up to God and ask Him to help them and give them solace at this sad time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, approval of the agenda.
Do we have any changes to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one change.
So I have a motion right now. Do I have a second? If not, Council Pro Tem, if you want to make a recommendation, because we already have a.
I'll make a second and I'll make a recommendation to move item number 7 on the consent agenda to item number 1.
So you're taking that item out of consent?
Yes, number 7.
Okay.
I want the public and we have to learn a little bit more about that item.
The maker of the motion, Councilor Casey, are you okay with that?
I guess.
Okay. Okay. When amendment, first and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next on the agenda is public input. We have no public input this evening. Moving on to our mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, and proclamations.
Okay, at this time, I'd like, first I'll give a report. I've had the opportunity in the past couple of weeks to go ahead and meet with the new interim CEO of Alta Vista. I've asked her to be here at our next meeting. A lot of changes going on there. I know there's a lot of concern within the community. So I'm hoping that when she comes, that she could answer some of the community's concerns. And also I encourage, those counselors, I did share the contact information with you guys. So if you guys could, reach out to her if you have any concerns or questions. Also, I did have had an opportunity to meet with President Wolf from Highlands, Dr. Neil Wolf from Highlands. I'm very excited with his new leadership. He's willing to participate more with the city of Las Vegas. Had discussions about internships within finance, media arts, and also social work to help within PD. So, I think there's some positives there. At the end, we'll see if they come to fruition, but I think I feel positive on that. I also had the opportunity to meet with President Mora from the World College. The same thing, I know Mayor Trujillo had a working relationship with her, so I want to continue that. I do want to introduce her to the new city manager and also to our utilities director, so I'll be doing that. So that's kind of my report on that. I also, at this time, I want to hand out, I know we have, or did I give them to you guys already? I know as we hired Mr. Tim Montgomery, we did discuss about, giving him a mid-year evaluation as we move forward. Mr. City Manager, I think Ms. Cassandra gave you, the tool that we'd be using. If you guys have the opportunity, go ahead and go through it, and as we. Okay. On one of the lines, if you could, on the third page,
On the
there's, last page, there's some info there, that's, just cross that out. But, as we move forward, I think that's the only way, gives the city manager an understanding of where we are, how we all feel with his performance. I think it's only fair. And Mr. City Manager, I don't know if you're willing to do this, maybe do a self, go over it, give maybe a self reflection of, some of these questions, and you might have your same concerns on, or feel that, there's some things that you might be able to work on. To me, Mr. City Manager, I sometimes feel bad. I think us as a governing body, maybe we expect too much and don't let you tend to, to some everyday needs that the city needs. But I think that's where this tool's gonna help out. We're gonna see, where we could better as a city, right? I mean, even us as a governing body, I'll be the first that I think sometimes, we maybe expect too much, and we gotta have a better understanding of what you're doing and what you're going through. And even with every department, it takes time to do things, and we can't expect, things to happen overnight.
Right.
So I think, if we could all, have a week to kind of go over that, and we'll have a good evaluation next week. Thank you, Mr. Manager. And that's it, Ms. Cassandra.
Next on the agenda is councilors' reports.
Councilors?
Go ahead, and then we'll just.
Councilman Martinez?
Well, I had an opportunity to meet with some of the business people at the
I forgot about that too.
at the Plaza Hotel the other day in reference to the events and so forth, planning the events around the, the park itself. And that was a pretty good meeting. Of course, city manager was there, and mayor, and Lucas was present as well, along with Chuck. And I think those concerns are big because there's a lot of events that are taking place, and they were concerned about closures of their businesses during that time. So it looks like there was some good communication that went on, and we feel that it's a good thing naturally for the city to have events that are, that are posted so that people aren't, being, sidetracked or detoured because of the fact that some of those events are taking place. So I think there's a better understanding of what's expected and what's taking place. That was it for me on that.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I met with the Florida Marketing Committee that has formed itself, made up of business people in town. They are concerned about the lack of having a tourist guide, a printed guide that we can hand out to people. They mentioned that all of the guides that we had and the information that we had on the city had been used up during the last year's Balloon Fiesta. And they thought that was wonderful, the advertising that was done at the Balloon Fiesta. However, they would like to have something that they could hand out at the visitor center at the train station, and also in the hotels and motels and other places of business. They're working on putting together some kind of a guide. I told them that I would, report to the council they would like to meet. Initially, they had thought maybe they could do a presentation before the council, either at the end of this month or in September. But I received an email from them today saying that they would prefer to meet with you, Mr. Mayor, and the city manager first, so that they can get some advice from you and more direction than what they were getting from me. So, and I feel comfortable with that. I think they need to let the leadership and the governing body know what's happening. The other issue, I've had a lot of people call me about, when are we going to be in full swing with everything being open all the time, like the laundromats and the car washes. And so maybe a PSA on that saying, we're still working on it. We have some things that we have to make sure are functioning properly. There has been a lot of criticism about the water not being safe to drink, and just a lot of fear out there and misunderstanding of information that comes out. And although the PSAs are very consistent and come out on a regular basis to keep people informed, a lot of people don't listen to the radio. Many do not have access to the internet, so they don't see anything on social media. Most of the senior citizens, which are the ones that have been calling me because I have a lot of older citizens in my ward, are concerned because they don't know how to use their cell phones to access email or anything like that. They just use it to call family members, and that's about it. The other thing is people have been attacked by dog packs, and there are several of them, and they're very concerned about that. There's some on Chavez Street, there's some on 7th and Legion, 8th and Legion, some on Railroad, others on Alamo, and people that have pets themselves and they take them out for walks are very concerned because one person had the dog pack attack her dog, and she had to fight him off as best as she could and get her dog out of there and get him home. So those are some of the things that have been reported to me. The other one is more signage needed on some of the roads, especially the area of that horrible accident last week. People drive too fast through there and they don't pay attention to the signs, and they just come off of South Pacific Street onto Grand and don't really pay attention to the traffic that's coming down Sabino Street and some of those other streets there. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilor. Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Ulibarri.
there's some concerns on South Grand Avenue where that accident happened. It was real. A lot of people got real terrified. Our police department, fire department, and the thing is that there's some concerns from people there that are they're driving too fast. We have speeders there. They're speeding from Councilman Romero's business, so and all the way to South Grand.
Your business.
And my business, so, and they're nonstop. I stay there 8 hours a day. I see a lot of the traffic. And I don't see anything that we could see what we could do. Our police chief can maybe get some officers out there and kind of, now that the schools are in session, there's more people coming in from out of town, and it's a problem. There's a problem there. I know that DOT is starting to work on something there, so we could slow people down, but we need to look at that area because it's very people that just don't. They're driving they drive 40, 50 miles an hour through there, and it's real terrifying. And I just want to thank the road department for all the weeds they've been taking care of, and whoever's working on it. Lucas and his team, and the potholes. We got potholes really bad all over. But it looks at me like I take a look at my ward, and we fill up the potholes, and all this rain has been taking all our asphalt off, and they look a little bad, So I did work with Arnold, took him around, and told him, what they look like. So he's working on it. I want to thank you, Arnold, for doing that, and thank you for everybody the good job you guys are doing. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, yeah. First of all, I'd like to send out congratulations to Dr. Jesus Tafoya. He's a local doctor taking over as the new medical director at the Alta Vista Hospital. I think that's a good thing. He has a big heart, and he cares about this community, and he gets involved with the community, so I think we're in good hands there. On another note, I want to thank Mr. Arnold Lopez. I don't know what he's doing over at Solid Waste, but I haven't gotten no phone calls, which is a good thing. And trailers are being dumped 5.5 days a week. People are happy. And I saw a couple of the trash trucks, and I thought I was in Santa Fe or in Albuquerque. They were clean. I mean, you could see the pride that's being taken up there at Solid Waste Department. And of course, our scheduling on trash. I mean, it's been on schedule. So I thank you for all that. It doesn't go unnoticed. On another note, Mr. City Manager, our weeds are out of control. I mean, we have weeds that are 8 foot tall in some areas. I don't know if it's a fire hazard or what kind of a hazard, but the ordinance reads that weeds ought to be cut down after 6 inches. And in some areas, we have 8 foot tall weeds. I don't know if the fire department can do anything about it, code enforcement can do anything about it, or what, but something needs to be done. And this is a 90-day-old problem, and you might be addressing that in your report, I don't know. But it's all over town. And, it starts from Allsops on New Mexico, that whole intersection on Hot Springs and Allsops, the dialysis, the laundromat, the Allsops, that vacant station lot, all that area is bad. Looks bad. And then you go up 7th Street, the same thing, on Collins, the same thing, on Legion, the same thing. So it's out of control. That's all I got to say. The other thing is I wanted to report that I've gotten a few calls on overhead streetlights on Christine, Legion, Mountain View Drive, and 7th Street. Even the new ones that I guess that the previous administration or previous city manager installed, the LED lights, some of those are not working. I think that's about it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just would like to recommend, on the weeds, I know the weeds are out of control everywhere, and it's probably very difficult to keep up with all the rain that we've had, and we've had a lot of rain, so, but I would recommend one thing for sure is along the stop signs where there's overgrown weeds, those ones need to be cleared for sure, because you don't want somebody to have an accident because we didn't clear the weeds from those areas. And I know it's across the board, but I'm just saying, when you got stop signs, and if you look at them from a distance, you can kind of see that they are covered by weeds and so forth. So my recommendation would be just, we got to at least make sure that those safety areas are taken care of, especially around school zones and so forth, because there's just a lot of people, a lot of traffic and so forth. So I think that's where we need to start, is what I'm saying. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cassandra?
Moving on to our next item, Mr. Mayor, we have our city manager's report. Mr. Montgomery.
So, Mayor and councilors, thank you again for having me here again. For tonight, we can start as usual with my welcome of new employees. We have Joe Cromer, is a Packer Driver 3 for solid waste. Dolores Gallegos, laborer for solid waste. Gerald, this is supposed to be King, not Kind, I apologize, certified police officer. Pablo Lopez, police officer. Eleanor Lovegood, operator in training with the water department. Eugene Martinez, cook at the senior center. Johnny Romero, Packer Driver 3 for solid waste. And Nathan Roybal, a recreation specialist with Recreation Center. So I'm happy to call in that we have these additional employees. For some of our department updates with community development, we've had 20 business licenses renewed, 12 new business licenses, 31 residential building permits, and 3 commercial permits processed. There have been 227 code enforcement calls for service, and these are primarily with business permits and weed control. Last month, we were at 127. There were 67 citations issued, 8 red tags posted, 9 abandoned vehicle notices posted, 5 cease and desist notices, and 3 abatements in process. The Design and Review Board discussed the Sequia Madre and denied the application. Transportation ridership is up 44% in July to 2,200 rides. This really seems to be based on the youth activity at the Recreation Center and them utilizing the transportation services. With events, we've had filming of Ransom Canyon, KNMX radio show and KFUN conducted each Thursday. The fiestas were canceled due to the water crisis, and music in the park was postponed for 2 weeks. For the city clerk's office, they're awaiting 5 liquor license annual renewal applications to complete the year's renewals. And then per ordinance 112-6, failure to pay, the city manager may issue written notice to shut down the businesses. The city clerk's office has been shorthanded as of July 8th. And the clerk's office continues with multiple daily activities. The finance department, the 2024-25 budget was approved by the governing body and successfully submitted into the local government budget monitoring system, or LGBMS. The department interviewed and identified suitable candidates for both the procurement position and the general accountant position. The finance director is analyzing cash flow trends to project cash available for investment. The department is working on a Tyler training for the city staff. And the department is working with the Sulzer Group for tracking financial information for FEMA claims. And that data will be presented during the financial report during the August 21st session. Our reservoir storage, Peterson Reservoir has 39 acre feet. Story Lake has 1,294 acre feet. And Bradner Reservoir has 227 acre feet for a total of 1,617 acre feet. And one thing I did want to call out is that the Peterson Reservoir was drained by 170 acre feet to ensure pressure being relieved from the dam during the flooding, as well as preparation for any future flooding that could come off the burn scar. And I had clarification provided to me from the water utility director that there was no water released in preparation for debris removal, but rather you could see water coming out of the drainage pipes, draining those pipes, preparing to move over to Bradner Reservoir. Human Resources processed 8 new hires in July. There are 8 pending recommendations for hire. Negotiations with the fire union are complete. and the contract will be presented to council during the August 21st session. AFSCME negotiations have begun. This is not a full opener year. It's a one economic, one non-economic, and one other item negotiation. They're working on updating several administrative regulations, and they're working with departments to ensure organizational charts correspond with the S1 forms. And again, this is in preparation of going into a budget call for any updates to budget. The gas department, there were 143 work orders, 2 gas leak checks, 40 non-pay cutoffs, 3 new services, and 5 pilot light booths. There's multiple projects with lines being run or extended and valves installed. I believe we are upwards of 550 feet of line run. They're preparing for the annual natural gas leak survey. They're working on the gas distribution automated meter reading, or AMR system. They've been cleaned and cleared trees and debris at gas division headquarters. They're preparing to paint the headquarters. They're keeping meters clean of debris and clear of weeds and tree growth, and updating meters as needed. Community services, completion of the south parking lot. Light fixtures will be installed in the near future. The kitchen plumbing is being rerouted and will be completed soon. This impacted the Tai Chi group. I apologize for that. The 2 grant-funded Las Vegas hot shot trucks have been ordered. The grant-funded Las Vegas double convection oven and other equipment for the kitchen quotes are being prepared at this time. The library elevator is now operational. The summer reading program was successful with 80 children or families there each week. Author Corey Recko held a reading of his new book at the library. The museum had 194 visitors in the month of July. And the maintenance needs for both the museum and library are being gathered or addressed. I've had public input come in regarding both of those buildings. The floods presented water issues at both locations. So there may be a need for a bar during the budget call process. I did want to call out some of the progress that's being made at the city. Again, with increased transparency, we're trying to put out as many public service announcements as possible regarding water. This evening, we put out a PSA increasing laundry services and commercial car wash services up to 4 days each week rather than 3. And really at this point, we're relying on the water treatment plant to go into full production. We've had some delays there, and we have surveyors and engineers working on the pre-treatment system. There'll be more testing done tomorrow to make sure that it's ready to put that water into our system. But I will say, though, as our water reserves have been built up because of our conservation measures taken, and we're up to 7.3 million gallons in storage. And we are keeping up, production is keeping up with the daily usage, and that's why we're starting to open up or lighten up on those conservation measures. We did attend a small business association, actually hosted it at the Recreation Center. Quite a few participants came to learn more about small businesses and what it would take to gain their license and be able to operate here in the city, and I think that was pretty successful. A couple nights later, then we attended a local business meeting in which we got to hear from and speak to business owners about FEMA claims, hear concerns, as well as progress that had been made with FEMA. So that was a pretty informative meeting. We did hold a hosting event update meeting in which we informed the plaza business owners about events that would be impacting the plaza. Restaurants, I apologize, we just made this change today, but as of last night, restaurants are using standard dining settings. laundry services and car wash facilities are operating 3 days a week. We've just updated that to 4 days a week. We're back to having music in the park on Friday nights. And then we had the Rough Rider Motorcycle Rally, July 24th through the 26th. And there's a few pictures there. We also have upcoming events. As of last night, we had the Tri-County Farmers Market at 6th and University. Salute to the Troops was last night as well, or yesterday as well. And then also we have the Fall Fiestas coming up August 31st through September 2nd at Plaza Park. We had here in town a tactical emergency casualty care and rescue task force training. I got to attend. This is something that the fire department hosted. This training was quite fun going in as administration and working with our local law enforcement and our police officers or fire department and learning how to deal with mass casualties in public settings. As an example, we had an active shooter event. First, what would we do with the individuals in the building, and how do we coordinate getting them out of the building, working with the fire department, local law enforcement. We learned how to pry open doors, how to do the medical treatment, triage, and so forth. And it's a pretty impressive training. I felt very honored to go to it. It's interesting to go in as administration because we are in a setting here where unfortunately we could have an event like this. And what would I do as an executive, and really what I came out learning is how to communicate with law enforcement, the police department, and be able to apply emergency medical services in order to try to save lives as best as possible. The communication level that's necessary and the teamwork that's necessary. We also had Desiree from risk management. We had Dominic from finance, and I think Dominic's willing to come up and at least say what he thought of the program.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening. So as Tim mentioned, this training was really intense. First of all, I'd like to thank the trainers. We had Dan, Tanja, Michael, and Randy were the trainers. Thank both chiefs for not only their expertise, but their staff's expertise, because out of 12 of us, there was only 3 civilians, if you would, doing this. We had a couple of gentlemen out of Albuquerque Security, and they really put it into a life experience. I mean, it was real, the way they set us up. They gave us all the tools from day 1 and day 2, and then on day 3, they put us to task. We had 3 teams, and they interchanged us. There's four in a stack, and they would interchange us to make sure that the leads would get the medic part, the medics would get the lead part, and things of that nature. At the tail end, they put us all 3 teams to work as one team to go into the building, and pretty cool because they had 40 victims. So we had to go in one team at a time. First team clearing, second team doing triage, third team evacuating. And they were quite impressed. Out of all the trainings they've ever done, is what they said, out of all the trainings that they've ever done, we're the first team to pull out all victims. There was 11 that died, or perished, I should say. So we just left those victims there, but we pulled out 29 victims, and we're the first team to ever do it throughout their training. And so I give a lot of props to all the staff, your staff, Chief, Stephen Span, your staff. They really worked together, and they were really good to us as the 3 office folks that went. You know, reaching the door is no joke. We learned that the hard way. I didn't even know that the city owned this. I don't know what it's called, simulation of how to breach a door. It's really, really cool if you all ever get the opportunity. It's worth a shot because it's not as easy as it looks. Just
Show me your bruises.
we learned how to put on
Lots of tourniquets.
tourniquets. It was very cool because they threw us a bag when we got there, and they said, "You're gonna need this." And it was just, they'd call out, you got shot in the left arm, put on your tourniquet. And so we had to learn and do it as quickly as possible. They made us do it in the dark. They made us do it in the dark with one hand taped up with duct tape. And so it was an experience that I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else. It's really intriguing now that I've done it.
So I'd like to thank the city and everybody that put it on and gave me the opportunity to do it, because things like this or these mass casualties was really put into perspective in my eyes. And now I feel that I would be of assistance. Don't get me wrong, it's stressful. Even though we were pulling out cards, they would give us cards. They just laid these things around the building. We had to go find them. We were in smoked out rooms, hallways, people yelling, screaming, and we had to go in the dark and find these cards, and they would indicate on there 6-year-old boy, gunshot wound to the abdomen. And they're labeled as black, red,
Yellow and green as to, black is perished, of course. Red would be gunshot wound, yellow, broken arm, green, walkable. They can walk themselves out. And so we had to be able to acknowledge what it was, and as a team, carry out every individual. We couldn't leave our team. We were on each other's backs the entire time. And so it really showed professionalism and teamwork, that's really what I got out of it.
it's just, we had to survive as a team, and we did so. It was 3 days work, and I truly enjoyed it.
One thing that was fun is once we completed our final task and we all came together for a debriefing, I don't know for certain that the trainers realized my role, Dominic's or Desiree's role. I don't think they realized that we were not with the fire department or EMS or law enforcement or some capacity would normally work in this environment. And I think that we got a lot of kudos for being there and doing as well as we did. We had to think out of the box and learn something new, but we did it, and it was really pretty cool. I'll go more into the presentation tonight, but it really came down to when we introduced ourselves at the end of the whole training. We introduced ourselves, they were pretty proud of us, and hearing Dominic and Desiree both jump in and say they had no clue what the training was really going to be about, but in the end it's all about teamwork, because we had to go into these situations with people that we didn't know that well. We were working with environments that we weren't familiar with, and you have to rely on each other. You have to be sincere and honest in the approach of what you're doing, and it really ties back to our 4 guiding principles, and that's what I want to link this to. But I was proud to hear you guys say that. It made my hair stand up on my arms because you guys felt that too, and it was good.
It was awesome.
Thank you for being there.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. City Manager, on that note, what was the cost of the training and where was it funded from?
It was $395 a person, I believe. $395 a person. There was a need to have a minimum of 10 people there, and that's how this opened up, is giving us, we had 3 positions that we wanted to make sure were filled, and that's how we ended up going. And so we had 10 people in the class, and it was funded, I believe, through the fire fund, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Okay, through the fire fund.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
So we have good things happening, but I also want to call out that we have issues in the city that are quite frustrating. To Mayor Pro Tem's point, weeds are everywhere. They are out of control. We have a lot of flooding or drainage issues that are happening, partly from maintenance issues, partly from overgrowth, and it's not acceptable, and I do understand that. And I have several pictures showing the top left is overgrown weeds. The picture right below that, we have a lot of businesses that are out there on the weekends that don't have business permits or license to be selling. We have the old city hall that still is not adequately boarded up, and pigeons are getting into the building. We have residents that are not cleaning their own yard, and that's private property, and we're not able to go onto, but we are able to do the knock and talks. We're able to do citations. There's a lot of debris still. If you look kind of towards the middle of the screen, again, you can see a roofing project that took place on a Saturday. There was no business license in place. So what has been done is code enforcement now has alternate schedules so that we have code enforcement out there on Saturdays to try to help prevent these things from continuing. You can see the truck that went off into the side gully area. We have construction projects that take a long time, whether it's weather slowing things down, if it's contractor issues, whatever the issue is. When you just look at these pictures, it's very negative, and the community gets frustrated, and I know the governing body and staff are frustrated, and so these are all things that need to be worked on and they need to be improved. And so that is why I'm in this position and trying to push these things forward. I want to go back to our guiding principles that I started bringing up my first meeting, and that is safety being number one. We need to make sure that we're safe, whether it's the individuals, if it's snow plowing, if it's trainings that you've held for law enforcement and fire department. Safety should be number one. Respect is really about how we work with each other and treating each other with respect, giving honest feedback to each other, communicating respectfully goes pretty far. Integrity in my mind is about honesty, and when we have problems, whether it be the weed control issue or it be projects that aren't complete, if we get down to the bottom roots of what is the problem, that's how we fix things. And so being honest and talking about it and coming to the proper solution is what integrity is all about. And then finally, teamwork. If we're safe, we can work. If we're respectful and we're working with integrity or honesty, then teamwork is very possible. Keeping open minds and willing to adapt and change is really important, and that's will drive teamwork. The one thing that I say it's not acceptable, and that is the WIIFM, or what's in it for me attitude. These are all pretty serious conversations, and so I wanted to bring up a character that I think some of us may know, and that's Lord Farquaad. And Lord Farquaad is an insensitive and uncompromising perfectionist. He saw that everything had to be done his way, and the only way for town of Duloc to become perfect was to exile all the fairy tale creatures. Farquaad's one and only dream was to become the official ruler of Duloc, which pushed him to levels of manic absurdity. And the reason I bring this up, he's from Universal Studios, is that he did not display anything that had to do with safety, respect, integrity, or teamwork. And I wanted to have that character brought forward because I think that's somebody we've all seen in the movie Shrek. I do have a humor side too. So what do we need to do? And the focus is a cultural shift. Obviously, we need to keep up with our daily business. We've got to keep business moving forward. But along with that, we need to make sure that we collaborate with all employees. Culture isn't one-sided. That is something that is a give and take. It's a back and forth. It's a learning and working with each other, understanding each other and hearing or listening to each other. Don't let anything slide. These are the tough discussions. When something goes wrong, we need to make sure we address it immediately. There needs to be consistency and accountability. Communicate early on. This is something that we have been trying to do, not only with the governing body, but also with our community as we went through the water crisis, and that is transparency. We need to be able to explain what is taking place and have the ability to deliver hard news or bad news. We need to make gradual changes. To be honest, it's probably the one area I don't like the most. I'd rather move things along very quickly. But adjusting to change can be very difficult for people. And so learning new ethical behaviors and developing those new habits takes time and repetition. Gamification. This is all about the rewards and recognition for positive achievements, making challenges, healthy competition, so to speak, setting an environment that makes people want to strive and jump forward and perform even better. And another element is making people happier at work. having a pleasant workplace. I think right now we're all experiencing issues of not even being at our own desks. We're spread all over the city, and that is not an easy thing to do. We need to have celebrations of the things that we do right and we do well. We need to have compassion, and we need to have values. So this is all from bamboohr.com. It's a training program that I really like and I've been researching. Part of my goal is that we are not reactionary, but rather responsive. On a day-to-day basis, I get emails and text messages, phone calls. I get all sorts of information thrown at me from very unhappy people. And I can be reactionary and yell at the person, but I don't do that. I try to be responsive and pick up the phone and find the right person that can help get the help. That takes time, it takes patience, but that's the right approach to do. So I don't encourage reactionary behaviors. Along with that, I think we also need to have our priorities and try to figure out where it is we're actually trying to go. Because if we don't know where we're going, we can only be reactionary. Leadership training, that's something that I've been working with HR with, and we've reached out to about 3 different consultants to bring training back into the management. We need training because there are individuals or complacency that kicks in and we're not responding appropriately. We need to know how to coach our staff. We need to know how to deliver bad news to our staff. We need to hold our staff accountable. We need to know how to communicate. And so leadership training will be coming forward. Luckily, I put that in the budget. Management training, again, a lot of hands-on training and coaching, and that's something that I have tried to do every week with the directors as we hold meetings and I learn the challenges they have and the issues that are going on in their departments and how best to move forward with those issues. Also, system training. I brought up earlier that the finance department is going to be delivering Tyler training. That's something we really need. We need purchasing training. I don't know how many times I go into meetings and I hear, do you remember in the past? Do you remember the old days? There's always references to the past. We've had a lot of turnover here, and training has not kept up with the turnover. And so one of my goals and efforts will be bringing training forward again. There's my presentation, folks.
All right, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. It was a good presentation, and I think you're right about all the things you say, and we've left a lot of things off with all the turmoil that we've had in the past, even the past 3 months, that have gone by. A lot of employees, and that's everywhere. It's not just the city of Las Vegas. It's everywhere. It's everything that has taken place in our community. But we have the ability to control what happens here. And you, as our city manager, has that ability to put things into perspective. And, I liked your presentation. It was nice. And you're right. You shouldn't ever react in any improper way to whether it be a customer or a fellow employee. I totally strongly agree with that. I've been in management for several years, quite a few years. And if you want to fix something, you gotta find the right root cause of the problem and work from there up. But I just, going back and seeing what you're talking about is very important. And it's very important moving forward to have an operating system that provides all services to our community. So, again, thank you for that presentation. It was nice.
Councilors. Mr. Mayor.
Awesome. That's all I can say. Awesome. All around awesome. Thank you.
Pro Tem Montoya.
Yeah, Mr. City Manager, I guess now's a good time to talk about this, but you reported that we have 39 acre feet on Peterson Dam. So what's the process now? What's the plan?
So next Tuesday, we have a meeting with a consultant we're gonna sit down and really go through a list of all of the projects that need to take place. And debris removal out of Peterson Reservoir is one of those projects that we know needs to take place. There's a couple things that we have talked about, and even you and I have spoke of. The process for getting the debris out of that reservoir cannot include taking expensive water out of Story Lake. And there were thoughts of that water being moved from Story Lake, moved up to Peterson and flush it out of the reservoir. And that to me is not the correct approach. What we do need to do though is we need to link Peterson to the dam replacement and figure out what the timing is going to be to even replace the dam, because there's options of having that dam pulled down and equipment brought in and dredge all the material out. We have, I believe I'm correct, was saying about 30 feet of ash in that reservoir. And so we need to talk through each step that we need to go through and do so successfully and not be reactionary and try to flush it out. Or partially clean it or anything along those lines. We need to look at the big picture and come up with the true process.
Thank you. And another follow-up question to that is, how many acre feet has the new filterization system that we brought from Canada passed through it, and is it operational right now? Because they told us it was going to be operational within 7 to 14 days.
So, and you're absolutely correct on that. And that's what we thought would happen also. The equipment is operational. The problem is that we've had several side effects from the pre-treatment plant that has made us not want to add water to our system and risk the quality of our water. So for example, when the equipment was first brought in, we had to spend quite a bit of time connecting the water to the system, electricity to the system, preparing the foundation and so forth, and we went through that. Then when we started running water through the pre-treatment, we took some pretty dirty water out of the Guyanus. It had 117 NTUs in it. We ran it through the machine, and it produced or cleaned the water down to a 3 NTU, which is really successful, it's good. However, we also noticed that as we ran water through the machine, we started having a sheen hit our filtration bed that it was going into. We didn't know if that sheen was oil-based, if it was organic-based. We weren't sure where it came from. There's a couple different things that could cause sheen. One, they could have been the oil that was in the pre-treatment plant, which is a vegetable-grade oil. It's human safe. We didn't know for certain if it was that. It could have been organic matter from the breakdown during the fire, breakdown of organics, and it flushed into our water source. We didn't know if there could have been contamination. We weren't certain. So we had to do water testing to find out what the sheen was. It took 2 weeks for us to get results back. That wasn't a process we could speed up. So we learned it was not a harmful element added to the water. Still not entirely sure where it came from, but we believe it had to do with the clay polymers that are part of the coagulants that are added to the pre-treatment plant. The chemicals in the pre-treatment plant have been reduced and the sheen is now gone. So we thought we were ready to get up and start running water through the pre-treatment again and add that to our water system. When we did that, we ended up having pretty clean water going through the system through the pre-treatment. When it flowed through the treatment, all of a sudden we had sand hitting our filtration beds. What we are trying to learn now, and part of tomorrow's tests, is this the appropriate equipment? Because when we leased this equipment or went into negotiations for the equipment, we were told that we could use this machine up to about 4,000 NTUs and it would clean that out. What may be the issue now is that we're actually bringing pretty clean water into the system and the system may not be responding the way we want it to. And so the testing that's taking place tomorrow, we have cleaned out all of the sand out of the filtration bed. We're going to run more water through the treatment plant and see if we have this reoccurrence of sand. The the frustration behind it is we know that this is a good system that can clean a very bad water. What we're not entirely sure of at this point is, can it clean semi-dirty water? And so we'll be learning that soon, but we cannot take a risk of entering any of this water into our drinking water. We can't risk our water treatment plant, and that's why there's this delay. So,
And Mr. Mayor, I asked this, Mr. City Manager, I asked this question because, in being
Transparent with the public, we need to be upfront with what's going on, and it's not going to be an overnight solution by any means. And we're a long ways from a new plant, and we're a long ways of what kind of a plant we need and so forth. Yes, we are going to bill FEMA for it and so forth, for a lot of these projects that are going on. But this plant, I bring up this subject because we were only supposed to lease it out, rent it out till November.
apparently it's until November.
And if it's not doing the job, or if it's not, we're gonna come to a point where we're gonna have to make a decision if we're gonna keep it or do something different, or move forward with other ideas. But, I'm a little bit concerned. Number one, I don't think we should have drained Peterson that low for whatever reason, and I'm not gonna go there. But the other one is, we've had more rain than anybody else in the state, but that doesn't mean that we're out of a drought. Next year, we could be back into, a drought again for another 7 years. So just keep all that in mind. Enough on the water. So I was going to ask, this accident that Councilman Ulibarri brought up about last week, I don't know what the fire response was or not, and that's neither here or there. But my concern is this, that I think, and I've mentioned this before, that we need to have a substation in that ward. Having one on New Mexico Avenue and one on Legion is not cutting the ice for me, for residents that live South Grand and South Commerce, across the tracks and stuff like that. The response, I don't think it could be better. It could improve. And I think that we should move forward on requesting fundings for a new substation in that ward, in that area of town.
And if I may address that one, there is actually a proposal that's going to be brought forward to council here in the very near future. There's a piece of land that has been looked at in that area. There's hopes of bringing another station in, and so that is being looked at now.
And the last one I wanted to address was, you mentioned that there was 20 business licenses that were issued.
There were so many business liquor licenses that were not in compliance, and you might have to be sending them a notice. I would have already sent that notice. Wasn't that license due on April every year?
I'm not sure which, yes, the licenses that I was referring to out in the public are the quick stand-up vendors that aren't licensed, and they're coming and doing work on the weekends here and not paying gross receipt tax. And the feeling is that because we did not have staffing out and about on the weekends, they were getting away with it. Same with work being done at homes without having permits. And so we have changed that now so that we have code enforcement out there. Even so far as yesterday, I had code enforcement going to different sites because we are trying to make sure the community or the public knows that we're monitoring throughout the week and that we're not going to tolerate it. Fair is fair. And so we're trying to.
And that was, Mr. City Manager, I was talking about the 5 liquor license
So-
that are annually renewed.
So Pro Tem, I think probably Cassandra would have that information.
Mayor, Councilor, if I may, out of those 5, we've received, since I've sent my report, we've received 4. So there's only 1 outstanding. Yes. And we do send friendly reminders, so we're down to the 1. So we send them certified mail as well, so they have to sign for them.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. That was an awesome report that you did, pretty detailed. I'm glad the citizens got to hear it from you, what's going on in the city of Las Vegas, what every department is doing, and how we're moving forward. And I think you explaining to
all citizens, the way you feel and what should be happening with city government. I mean, that's important even to us, mayor and council. I'm glad you brought that up, and
I'll do my part in working towards that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Please go on. Thank you. Anyway, going back to the food trucks and people that are selling produce out there, they're not displaying their city permits on where you could see them, and we do have a problem with that because there's people coming. Well, one person that I know that's coming in, and they come in there almost every weekend, and I'm not sure if they have a business license or whatever. I know that you talked about it, so. Law enforcement's got to look at that. They got to start looking at whoever's coming in and getting the permits. And I saw some that did and some that don't have it. So take a look at that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I only have one more question, and we haven't talked about Taylor, a little bit about Taylor, the Taylor well field. I mean, it's just another option that the city has. And go ahead.
Yes, so the Taylor wells have all been updated to have electrical there. If not electrical run directly to the well, they have generators. There has been, let's say, broken down parts to the wells for quite some time. Those have at least been repaired to the point that generators can run them. So they are all operational at this point. We have it set up so that there are portals that run along the entire line from the wells so that we can test chemicals. We can make sure that the water is sound. We do the treatment at the wells themselves. They are really designated as emergency water. We have been looking at different protocols of how to keep those wells up and running without impacting the surrounding areas. And so that's going to be a matter of synchronizing when each well is used and how long we use them. And so those protocols we have in written format, we still need to talk a little bit more before we put them online on any type of a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. First off, I just, as you were giving your report, I was looking around the room and everything, and as you go through your 4 guiding principles, and one is transparency, and then, the ethics, and I think tonight, I know we all have these concerns, but it's good to see the city manager not sugarcoat things, and actually seeing, and I actually, you heard me get onto the YouTube to make sure that the slide was also presented to the community, that you're aware of everything that's going on, and the staff is trying to tend to everything as fast as they can, and that's where I say, as we go through your evaluation moving forward, I think it's important for us to also understand is that things take time. We can't expect things to happen overnight, right? So you get 5 text messages from each one of us, and with the expectations that it should be done tomorrow, well, that's unreal. And that puts a burden on all the staff, to do things. I think we really need to, as we move forward, again, as we talk about teamwork, as Dominic came up and you went through the training and that, teamwork's the key word. And when we all work together and not just one expectation from one individual or from one citizen or whatever, it's going to take for us to all be on the same page. Now we'll get to the really good positive news that, the positive things that, the beginning of your presentation that to me, it's important, the training. We continue to talk about training. We know that, there's been a gap from institutional knowledge that I've always said. So people have, gone into positions, but they were never trained or never given the tools. And you as our leader now, is you're seeing that and you're starting to give them the tools. This one with, the situation that you got the training through last week, I think it's very important, and I'll tell you why. Not only, our public safety officials are always going through this, but let's look at the reality that if something happens here at City Hall, fire or PD usually isn't on hand. So somebody needs to take a response instead of waiting, because every single minute counts. And I think having those staff members was very, very important, and it's a start. So I think that's commendable, number one. And number two, the part to that, that now as we have regular citizens, Dominic, and now we have Desiree, that they're out in the community. So something happens, now they're gonna be leaders if something happens and they're there. So it's important as we all get, everybody gets the training. I know I was afforded the opportunity, but it's just so busy and we couldn't, but I think it's important that you continue with that because at the end, everybody that gets it, it's a benefit to the community. So, kudos to that, kudos to Dominic and to Desiree. And as we move forward, just, everybody, like, don't be afraid, all the staff, right? Like, it could be, somebody's life that you save and we can't always, afford and have the opportune time for fire or PD that, usually has this training to be here to save somebody's life. So it's important that, everybody get that and I commend you on that, Tim. It's impressive, and you just put two more individuals, well, three more individuals in this community that can save somebody's life, and I think that's, we gotta be. Thank you. That's all I could say. Thank you, Tim.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our next item, approval of minutes for July 17th and July 29th, 2024.
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor
Mr.
Casey.
Mayor, I move approval of the minutes for July 17th and July 29th. They were perfect.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey.
Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Martinez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to our consent agenda, if I may read those into the record, items 1 through 6. Approval of addendum number 1 to contract 4003-23 with HDR Engineering, Inc. for water treatment plant facility, planning, design, and construction engineering services. Approval of addendum number 1 to contract 4004-23 with Moles and Corbin and Associates for water treatment plant facility, planning, design, and construction engineering services. Item number 3, approval of addendum number 3 to contract number 3784-21 with Moles and Corbin and Associates for wastewater professional engineering services. Item number 4, approval of addendum number 3 to contract number 3785-21 with Sauter Miller and Associates for wastewater professional engineering services. Item number 5, approval of addendum number 3 to contract 3782-21 with James Cook and Hobson for pump, motor, and mechanical repair as needed. And item number 6, approval of addendum number 3 to contract 3787-21 with Alpha Southwest for pump, motor, and mechanical repair as needed.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda as read into the record.
A motion by Counselor Casey. Do I have a second by Councilman Ulivari? Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our business items, which our first item will be, which was consent item number 7. Request approval to accept funding from the New Mexico Law Enforcement Protection Fund. We have our police chief, Mr. Caleb Marcus.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Mr. Manager. It's just, this is a grant that we apply for yearly. This helps us with the repair and maintenance of our vehicles, also to equip some of our apparatuses. This fund also assists with our training, advanced trainings for our officers, equipment. So it kind of covers a broad area of our law enforcement practices. This year, we're afforded $126,500, and we just wanted to come in to accept the grant. That'll be dispersed in September.
Counselors, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chief, Mr. Mayor.
Chief, no, I just wanted to, give the opportunity to the public to understand that you guys are applying for grants to benefit the department. And I got to meet one of your officers yesterday at the park, the Veterans Memorial Salute to the Troops. And he's a new officer from Pecos.
Yes, sir.
In Espanola area with a lot of experience.
Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you, I really enjoyed talking to him and I enjoy seeing him.
going around talking to people, engaging, communicating, and at the same time, you know, doing his job. But he really surprised me, and I hadn't seen that, and I appreciate that. And I think that's where we need to go with the department. And on this training and on this funding, I mean, I'm glad that you're looking, you know, to apply for different stuff, and hopefully we'll get it. Thank you. That's
A lot of money.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the item as presented.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman Martinez.
Martinez, second by Counselor Casey. Roll call.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our next business item, conduct a public hearing and approval of an application for a restaurant a liquor license with on-premises consumption. This item, we will need to go into a public hearing for
This
this.
time I'll entertain a motion to enter a public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into public hearing.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey,
Second, Mr. Mayor.
second by Councilman Olivari. Roll call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
The maker of the motion state why we're going to public hearing.
For the purpose of reviewing the application for a restaurant liquor license and on premises consumption.
Thank you, yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. And if I may have our Human Resource Director, Darlene, swear me in, and anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this item, if you'll please stand and come forward. And just for the record, I did speak to Mr. David Bustos, and he was unable to make it this evening. So I think it'll just be.
Please raise your right hand. Under the penalties of perjury, do you swear that your testimony is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cassandra?
Mayor and councils, we have an application for a liquor license by David Bustos with Dave's Diner LLC. And he's asking for a beer, this restaurant A liquor license is a beer and wine liquor license for on-premises consumption. And ABC Beverage Control Division has approved this preliminary liquor license application and is being brought to you for the governing body to consider the liquor license application. All zoning and publication requirements have been met. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Cassandra? Seeing none, and nobody here to present
On the other side, I'll entertain
Mr. Mayor,
Pro Tem Montoya.
it's hard to ask a question when the clerk, I don't think, can answer it, but maybe the fire chief can answer it. So how does this liquor license,
change the status of the building or the business. Does it have different requirements?
It wouldn't change the status, sir, it'd still be classified as a restaurant. The only thing it might change is the new equipment they're installing is the occupancy of the facilities.
and I guess the other question I have is, on the same property and same premises, there's a travel trailer that's been parked there and as a residential, and is that even legal to do that? And it's hooked up to utilities and so forth?
I'm not sure, sir, I have to get Mr. Marquez and Mr. to see what our ordinances state for that.
Mr. Marcos,
Mayor, Council,
you mind,
Does he have to be sworn in, or did he sworn in?
Mayor, Council,
they're not,
We can have him sworn in. He's going to speak on the item.
but,
Darlene just stepped out.
I'll just go
I'll
ahead
just
and write.
follow if you want.
So should council, should Chief Span have,
He should be sworn in as
Why
well.
is she still-
Anybody?
Should be over
She
here.
got a phone call.
so I guess,
if you don't mind, raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, in regards to the travel trailer in the back of Dave's Diner, when they were starting up the construction, it was allowed to be what's called a caretaker dwelling while the initial construction took place. That's the first phase of construction. The first phase of construction is due to be complete this month. They'll be adding the final part of it with the patio in the front. At that point in time, the second phase would come in, which would be the back part, expanding towards the back. I've already spoken with Mr. Bustos and advised him that this is his last month to be able to have that mobile home in that area. As far as code enforcement, we couldn't move him just because he was given the permit to be able to have it there as a caretaker dwelling during the construction of the facility.
So, Mr. Marquez, what happens if he doesn't move it?
Well, he won't be able to complete his construction of phase 2, and we'll also go ahead and move forward, sir, and turn off water services, because in our ordinances, it does state that no mobile home can be hooked up to city utilities, sir. However, I wasn't present when they gave him the okay to have it as a caretaker dwelling. That was prior staff. But, you know, he has his permits there that state it.
And the reason I bring this up is because, you know, if it's a business and if it's a residential, I don't know how you can have residential in a business. You know, I don't understand the liability of it either.
I understand, sir. Yeah, caretaker dwelling is just that. It's just it's a temporary, well, in his situation, it's a temporary place to be able to take care of the operation while he was doing this construction. In my opinion, I wouldn't have allowed it, but that wasn't in my realm of control at that time, sir.
And according to the ordinance, we can't hook up utilities to it.
No, sir, but in this case, it was allowed.
Okay. And the sewer line, the same thing, was allowed to hook up.
Yes, sir. And I'd assume they're using the same line, sir. I haven't got underneath there to check to make sure, but I'm assuming they're using the same line.
And Madam Clerk, I understand that there are both different subjects, but the same property. And my concern is the safety concern of the public. That's why I bring this up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Council.
questions? If not, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Martinez.
Yeah, the only question I have is in reference to going back to the liquor license itself. I know there's guidelines and rules that are supposed to be followed when you have an establishment that offers alcohol to the public. And I know there's a shutdown time. They also got to serve food with, with alcohol, I guess, so that they can operate in that direction. Does the city of Las Vegas ever receive any kind of notice from the Alcohol and Gaming Division in reference to violations of an establishment to the city? I guess that would be my question. I know it's a kind of a broad question, but do we, as a city government, city officials, know when somebody has violated any kind of condition with the Department of, Alcohol and Alcohol and Control Division? That was the only question I had that it would pertain to.
To answer your question, Counselor, I have never received anything like that. I don't know if Planning and Zoning receives anything of that nature.
Mayor, Council, no, we don't.
In other words, if there's a violation to any establishment that does sell alcohol and liquor, should maybe, police department or, our city government be informed of such a citation or something, you know what I mean?
I'd imagine that we
getting at.
would be informed if there was,
Yeah,
and I don't know how often they check them. I'm not,
Okay. And I'm good with, moving forward because he wants to establish this ability to bring in different type of business, and have that as income as well for his business. And that also pays, it does help with grocery receipts and so forth. So I got no issue with moving forward on this. I just didn't know if alcohol and gaming had not only in this case, but any other case for matter, you know?
And I do know that when they apply for these applications, they do go over all of the rules with them at that
Okay.
time, the state does, so.
And are we, the city of Las Vegas, aware of those guidelines? I'm sure you are, right, chief? Okay. Okay, that's it.
And just to add to that, ABC does have their own enforcement. So if there's issues, they're their own law enforcement agency, so they take care of that.
All right, thank you.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Casey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay, with the public hearing being said, I'll entertain a motion on the next
Mayor,
item.
I move that we approve the application for a restaurant liquor license with on-premises consumption for Dave's Diner.
Motion by Counselor Casey, second by Pro Tem Montoya. Roll call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya? I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next item, business item number 2, request approval of resolution number 24-23, authorizing investment of monies in the New Mexico State Treasurer Local Government Investment Program Short-Term Investment Fund. We have our Finance Director, Mr. Morris Madrid.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good morning.
What you have in front of you is the resolution with language directly from the Office of the State Treasurer. All we do is basically fill in the blanks. You'll notice that the resolution has titles, not names. That's so that this resolution lives beyond the turnover in any of these positions, and it doesn't have to be done again. So whoever occupies these positions would be automatically authorized. The next step, assuming your approval this evening, is to then fill out the proper forms to send to the state treasurers and then receive a few hours of training, and then we can start investing in this fund. Where we are right now is I have compiled all of the cash flow information that I need to identify a comfortable amount of cash that can be invested long, medium, and short term. What I would like to do is, once that's identified and all the authorizations are in place for this, is to begin investing in this fund while I continue to revise the policy that would give us guidelines to invest locally if that's what we decide to do, but not wait until the whole package is done, because we don't need to wait for this part. And with that, I ask for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Madrid. I just had one question. So going back, I mean, of course, we can't go back 20 years when you and Councilman Montoya were here on the council, but do you know when the last time that the city invested with the state?
I think it was about 15 years ago. It was right when the last investment policy was done. And I think after that mayor's term ended, there was a change in philosophy and not a lot of cash. And that's when the participation stopped.
Thank you. I just wanted to know that what we're doing here tonight is something positive. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Pro Tem Montoya?
Go ahead, Pro Tem.
I was gonna make a motion, go ahead.
Okay. I just have one question in reference to, I know this puts everything in place, but how does the governing body, I guess maybe just the names that are there, how does the governing body know when monies are withdrawn?
They are, I guess when you say withdrawn, they're never really withdrawn. They're transferred between the state treasurer and the city.
Right, yes, or pulled out
And,
is what I meant, yeah.
When are you notified of that? That's, depends on when I report it to you, and that should be pretty regularly.
So it should be reported. Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
And
That's-
I think cash management needs to be a part of the monthly reporting.
Thank you.
that I do,
That's-
and it hasn't been before, but it should be.
Okay.
So, Mr. Manager, Morris, not manager. So just real quick, on this is just the resolution. I'm sure Mr. City Manager will still have discussion on the amount of investments, how we're gonna do that, I'm sure, right?
Yes,
Just to be clear.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Mr.
Yes, sir.
Manager?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm agreeing. I think, again, finance is something that's very important to me anyway, just from my history. But along with our biweekly meetings that we have and monthly financial reports to the council, we'll definitely know where the money is sitting. And I think we need to not become complacent once the monies are invested, because we need to keep looking at other alternatives with either higher payouts or look at the activity as we move forward with different projects in the city. And so I think cash will be continually spoken of.
Mr. Mayor, to expand on answering that question a little bit more, what I would like to do is initially give you all a report, a very detailed report of there's 300,000 from this fund, there's 150 from this fund. There may be 20 or 30 of them involved to get us to a total of, let's say, 20 million. And then after that, that reporting can evolve along with the investment policy to whatever the governing body and the manager are comfortable with. And it'll become more routine, but it should never be anything but transparent.
Tim Montoya?
Thank you, Mr. Madrid and Mr. Montgomery. I think this is the best thing the city of Las Vegas has done in 18, 20 years, is invest their funds now that we have them. I don't think the city of Las Vegas has always had this kind of funds available to invest and at the highest interest rates. And this will allow us to do more projects within the city, whatever priorities are of the mayor and council, or whatever the priorities are for the departments. But, and then the good thing about this is that it's available to us any day we want it back. If we fall into an issue that we got to have some money available the next day, well, it's available and they'll pay us their interest, and we don't have to take it all out or anything like that. We can always leave some behind. So this is a win-win situation, and yeah, you guys determine, bring us the numbers as to how much we can invest, and we'll move forward. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 24-23, authorizing investments of monies to the New Mexico State Treasurer's Local Government Program. Thank you.
By Pro Tem Montoya, second by Councilor Casey. Roll call.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our next item.
When we invest, actually.
Madam Clerk. I would like to disclose that the state treasurer is my daughter, just for in case there's any kind of conflict or anything like that. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 3, request approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Las Vegas Soccer League. We have our Parks and Recreation Director, Arturo Padilla.
Just requesting approval of the MOU. It's just procedure. Same as every season that they do. We get the specific dates and fees, put them on the MOU, that's a template, and get it passed through the process, and then we ask for your approval.
Mr. Mayor, to approve item 3.
Any discussions on it?
I have a motion by Councilman Olivari,
Second.
second by Councilor Casey. I had one question. I noticed in other contracts, I know the Luna, there's a specific date as to when they'll make the payments, and this one I didn't see that. So are you taking the payment prior to the use, or?
We take it as soon as it's approved by you guys. I call them up and they come and pay at the rest.
Okay, I mean, it's a small amount versus Luna's.
Luna one's different because
Yeah.
it's
Okay, all right. Pro Tem Montoya?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That had the same concern, but I also had a follow-up question on the days of operations, that they would be utilizing it. And it says on here Monday through Friday, 4 to 7 p.m., and on Saturdays from 8 to 5, and Sundays 8 to 5. Now, I just want to clarify that if the public comes to the city of Las Vegas to rent out the canopies at any of these parks, and they pay for that permit, that should be before this. That should be taking priority over this events. Because they're all public parks.
That's different than the
Yeah,
playing field.
yes.
Yeah, so they can, yeah.
Just to clarify it, that they'll still be available to them because they do utilize them a lot. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Roll call?
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Olivari, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask just one question in reference to the parks and is just maybe a recommendation, and I would say this because we have youth playing in our parks or, having events. Is it possible for, the coaching staff for those events for them to have, like a first aid kit or something like that? I don't know if we have anything like that out there. I'm not aware of it, but maybe you can tell me. I'm always thinking about, number one, liability, number two, safety of our children in our communities. So that's the only thing I wanted to bring up.
That's not something that's ever been brought up. That's a good point. Like the president of Havoc, I believe that she does give her coaches something that stays on the field every time. I'm sure the soccer league does it also. I'm not sure about like the travel teams and all that stuff.
It may be more of a recommendation. I'm not, it doesn't have to be in stone, but it's probably just a good habit to have if you're gonna be, working with these different entities for the use of the parks. Just a safety concern, because by the time you get a child from point A to point B, they're caught, they're hurt, they're this. At least there was some medical attention taken into consideration by the coaching staff or so. I'm just thinking about that. Thank you.
Councilman Martinez, just in my prior years being involved in youth sports, any league that does this, it's required under their membership, so.
Okay.
Every
good.
coach, I know I as a coach and, anybody that's ever coached, you had to have your first aid kit, so.
Maybe just a follow-up.
Maybe that's something we follow up with. I follow up with them as the MOU gets passed.
All right.
They have that.
Thank you.
Mayor, moving on to our next item. Item number 4, request approval of Resolution 2422 to accept and enter into an agreement with New Mexico Department of Transportation. We have our Public Works Director, Mr. Arnold Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we come today or this evening to request approval of Resolution 24-22 to enter into an agreement with NMDOT. And this agreement is for capital appropriation grant in the amount of $50,000 to be used for planning, design, and construct road improvements, including sidewalks, drainage, and curb and gutter on El Creston Circle. NMDOT is to fund 100% of the grant offer. Questions?
Councilman Martinez?
Arnold, is that the second portion of or is that still the very first portion of the construction up there in?
Could I
Go ahead.
Could I add to this?
Yeah, please.
So this originally, and I guess within the language when it came out through capital, because this was a capital outlay.
Right.
We received $50,000. I know the request was more for the park, being that was in my ward. The focus was on the park, and somehow it ended up with sidewalks, drainage and curb and gutter. Although, I know we already have phase 1, phase 2, we're waiting to hear,
We should be hearing any day on that one.
we're waiting to hear on that. So I would just, ask the council, being that was my ward, and then moving forward is that, Councilor Martinez is kind of tagged on to you. is, the funding's already, for phase one, and if we do get phase two, it already includes sidewalks, all that. So if, I know, as it says, sidewalks, this 50,000, that, because all the other stuff should be funded, hopefully, that you look at the sidewalks within the park itself, because it does need some continued improvement beyond what is already in the scope of work on the road and the immediate, sidewalks that are there. Is that?
Right, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to kind of follow up and.
So these grants are real specific to the area and what they can be used for in the language. But it's 50,000 and if needed, I mean, we can use it within the project as well if we do have a little shortfall or something. But it will be used in El Creston without a problem.
Mr. Mayor. So is this for the project or for the park, or either one?
It has to be for the project. The way it states, yeah, it's got to be for, yes, sir.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a request to approve Resolution 24-22. Accept the agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation in the amount of $50,000.
Motion by Pro Tem Montoya. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 5, discussion and direction of the Riverwalk archways, gateway designs, and locations. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor and council, so going back to the initial design for what were actual gateways, I know they've always been talked about archways, but in the original design, they did not include an archway. And the design of the gateways to be, we found concerns that for safety reasons, we did not want to proceed with the original design and concept of just being gateways. So with the help of a vendor out of Albuquerque, we gave him my ideas and had him redesign these gateways to include actual archways, like talked about, many times throughout the whole process of, getting the money through T-Mobile and in the request to them and stuff like that. They always mentioned, or we always mentioned archways. But anyways, we came up with a design, and if we could put that up on the screen, I think he's got the slides there. There, roll down. There. Okay. So this first one, and again, these are just ideas, and we want to get input also. But this is one of the ones that that I came up with, and if you notice up on the archway, you have some fish there as well. But in this particular design, we wouldn't include the fish there. We could add some branches or leaves or something right in those two corners if wanted. And then if you noticed, I included the logos on each side of the actual gateway. So the two center pieces there with the opening is actual walkway, which will be in about 40 inches wide. And the gates will be hinged, and we could open them if needed or when needed. And then they would be pinned to concrete footings and secured, locked basically, so nobody could open them and drive a vehicle within those areas. But this is all constructed with thick gauge metal, really sturdy, nicely done. And again, these are just ideas for the design, and we're willing to, if you have any input or would like to change them, or you're not happy with the archway, anything like that. At this point, that's why we're here for input, and that way we can move forward in construction of them, fabrication, and then
Councilor Casey.
implementing them.
Thank you. I really like the ones that have the trees or the branches, but I don't think that we should have any fish on anything, because when I first saw that, I thought, when people see the fish, they're gonna think that they can go fishing in the river. And, well, they shouldn't be.
There's no fish?
Well, there's no fish,
No,
that's what
there's
I'm
fish.
saying. But,
They stuck it.
we, you know, if there are fish there, I don't think that people should be, it's a river walk. It's a park, it's not a river to go fishing. If you wanna fish, go to Story Lake, go up into the mountains and fish up there. But I don't think it's appropriate, and I think it would create a lot of extra, you know, problems for people. And I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes you go fishing and you start talking or whatever, and you forget the fish there, and then you have these rotting fish there along the riverbank and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think we shouldn't have, to me, this is like advertising, come and fish here. And it should be a place where people can enjoy it, they can walk through there, you know, enjoy the river and, you know, the beautiful trees and, you know, just the atmosphere. But I don't think it should encourage people to fish, and I think that's what those designs there with the fish are doing.
Well, thank you for that
Thank
input.
you.
And there is 3 locations, so we have 3 locations and they could be all the same. Or there could be 3 different, you know, designs, different concepts. That's why we're here this evening, so thank you for that input.
And
Councilman,
I was just gonna say, I'd be happy with any of them as long as they don't have any fish in any way, shape, or form.
and you would have not
Like the original design, because it was just a school of fish. Literally a lot of fish in that first design.
Martinez?
No, and my question was where the placement would be, because I think all of these plans were set prior to me coming in, so I didn't know where they were gonna be set up, and can you give me an idea where that's at, or?
Well, so the 3 locations would be one right off of Bridge Street, where you enter into the river park.
On both sides, you mean?
No, sir. On
That would be on the side that's headed towards Independence.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be one location. The other location is off of 12th Street, adjacent to the Franken gas yard that's there.
That's an entrance that's partially city-owned, and we have an access easement. That's where a lot of people park. There's a parking area there, and a lot of people access the Riverwalk right there. They park and have the opportunity to access through there, and that's where we access to for maintenance and stuff as well. So that's the second location, and then the other location would be right off of Independence to access the Riverwalk headed west towards Bridge.
Okay.
Right off of Independence, basically by the bridge.
And they're nice, I really do like, I mean, to me, it didn't matter on the patterns, but, you know, if you wanna make it, maybe known as more of a river walk, maybe a couple of individuals walking and pointing to birds or this or that, or, you know, the water, or, yeah, it's hard to say how they would do that, you know, on metal. I can imagine it, but getting it done is something probably different.
It's pretty amazing, you know, computer graphics, and then, you know, the plasma cutter so it's programmed in the computer just like we're looking at here. And then it transfers, you know, they program it to size and all the specifications, and then it sends it over to a plasma.
That pretty precisely cuts these patterns, you know.
Right.
And then it's bite, but that's another design there.
So has any of this stuff already been, I mean, approved for paying and all that, or has it been paid for or not yet?
No,
Or
sir. No, we're still in basically
in a different
design.
phase, okay.
We wanna move forward, of course, with
Fabrication and installation, of course, but
you know, I think it's important. that we
It'll,
choose the
it'll
right
bring a lot of, I mean, hopefully vandalism isn't the issue at the end, but what I'm trying to say, it'll bring a lot of, you know, it'll make it look presentable, definitely. I mean, I like it.
What I'm recommending, as far as finish is rust patina. So, you know, they sandblast the material, clean it all up, remove all the scale basically from the metal. And then, they do an application of a rust patina. So, and then my thought is if somebody was to spray paint it, graffiti it, we could very easily take a floppy disk sander, sand off the paint, and then repatina it, no? So as opposed to it being all painted, powder coated or whatever, once you get, other paints on it, it's gonna ruin that finish and would be costly and to repaint and stuff like that to keep it looking good and all, but in my opinion, like I say, I'd recommend doing the rust patina and the rust patina it and throw a clear on it as well to preserve the colors, but rustic metal, looks really nice.
So we don't have any kind of a pricing on this or nothing? Do we have a quote on it already?
Yes,
or-
sir. If we go with, say we went with these exact designs, and even if we changed it, somewhat, the price would hold pretty close to it. But all fabrication, installation, the finish and everything, for all three locations came out to like about 58,000 for them.
So, can I add to that, just, for the public to be aware, the city of Las Vegas was awarded $50,000 from T-Mobile. So that's, part of the funding for this, and then any additional will be at the cost of the city. So just, and it was, again, it was a competitive grant that the city was successful in. And I know that T-Mobile has been calling me and the city manager to see what's going on with this. So it's important that, a decision being made that way. Hopefully, I know we had the presentation in December, so hopefully we can get it done within the year so we could close that chapter.
Maybe Mayor.
City manager?
Sorry about that. T-Mobile has reached out to us a few times to see how we're doing with our progress, and if at all possible, I'm really hoping that we can come out of this session with clear guidance for coming up with concepts that we can bring back and maybe vote on them. The goal would be to have these completely done and installed before the year's over.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Arnold, the design looks good. Anyway, are we working on the, I know we're working from Bridge to Independence. Do we have anything that we're working from Bridge to like Mills Avenue? That area, because that area on the river's a little congested. I know that.
So the reason why I think that wasn't really considered as well is because we still lack to improve the trail there in that area. So putting the signs there in that area wouldn't really be a smart decision at this point because, when you go to construct your new river walk, and we've been applying for monies, haven't been successful, but we've applied for monies to improve that river walk portion. So you're talking about. So again, my recommendation would be to improve the trail first, and then you do, some additional gates or archways or whatever is needed.
Thank you.
And if you notice on the archway, it's not contacting the actual support cross brace, but it will. It's just drawn that way, but basically because you got to do it in several pieces, and then so that'll be brought, as a whole, the archway, and then it'll be welded and secured to the cross support on the posts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I was gonna ask the question, what happened there, but yeah, you got it. You know what, to me, since I was a kid, we used to go fishing up at the Gallinas River, up in the canyon. And to me, all of it is the Gallinas River, and it's all fishing. And fishing has been going on for the last 10 years along the Gallinas River. The state goes in and puts fish when there's water. And kids go by there, and families go by there, and they fish, and they have fun. I mean, they're not big wild fishermen or anything like that, but, they have fun as a family unit. And then last year, the year before, the last 3 years, we had a grant that allowed, what was her name?
Dr. Varos.
Dr. Juarez, applied for a grant, and they were teaching kids how to fly fish. I mean, I wish I knew how to fly fish. I never did fly fish. I bait fish. But, it's pretty interesting that, that park can be a lot of different things. It could be, we got skaters, we got bikers, we got joggers, we got, just old folks that just go by the hand walking up and down. in the evenings. So it's a beautiful park, and everybody's enjoying it. Last summer, they had the youth kids. They actually went swimming in those holes, which, you know, I mean, they're supervised in the whole works. I think this is really good work, Arnold, Mr. Lopez. I would consider something like this, putting something like this on the 12th Street one, and maybe doing something like what Ms. Casey's posing on the Bridge Street one that has more appeal towards joggers, I guess, or flowers or stuff like that. But I know that the original concept was not a good one, and we spent a lot of money on that. We had a plan designed, the whole works, and yet you are correct, there was a lot of fish, it was confusing, it was like, and then the design was dangerous for kids to put in their hands and stuff like that. This one's more friendly, I think. So I thank you for putting in the work, and you know, we do not want to lose that grant. And I know Mr. Archuleta and the mayor were pretty much involved in that grant, trying to obtain it, and we don't want to lose that one. And the rest of the money will be coming from a little bit of the Gallinas River funding that we have left over. Yeah. And last year, we applied for the trail replacement from Independence to Bridge, and we were practically promised that money, but it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, that was from Bridge to Mills.
Yeah, Bridge to Mills. And it didn't happen, but we'll try again this next year, because that trail really needs to get a facelift. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Olivari?
Mr. Mayor, is it possible to make one recommendation in reference to the placement? I know that you talked about the 3 locations, but if I was a visitor coming from out of town and I wanted to kind of see what Las Vegas is all about, and you see these archways on both sides of Bridge Street, I think that's pretty appealing. It gives, you know, that inviting issue to the public. Of course, yeah, I do like it. You know, all of these actually fall in Ward 4, okay? And I'm happy for that. But I still think that there should be something on the other side of Bridge Street, you know, representing that trail that goes, you know, toward Mills Avenue. So, I mean, I would probably recommend, you know, doing that as well. I think it's good to share, you know, share that opportunity with the other ward. That's just my opinion, but, I mean, that's just a recommendation that I would like to make.
Would that be changing like one location, which would probably be Independence, to the other side of Bridge Street?
Either the Independence location, or maybe that crossway that you said that, you know, that, the one for that parking area that you mentioned by the Frankens. I don't know of too many people that use that. Maybe there is quite a few.
And there is, the 2 busy locations are that one off of 12th Street.
Is it
Yes,
really that busy?
and Bridge Street. I don't see anybody accessing from Independence very much.
Well, maybe
no.
the Independence one should be moved to the other side, and that way you have, you know, a little bit of an inviting, community, you know what I mean? Just my recommendation. This isn't up for a vote, right? This is
For the design, it would be nice, yeah.
for the design, okay.
Okay.
And the design for me, it's, I mean, whatever, you know, the council agrees on, which right now it's nothing right now, but, maybe different scenes, you know, the trees on maybe one, and, you know, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, there you go. Even ducks or something would be nice, you know.
Yeah, the sky's the limit, really. I mean, it's pretty amazing, you know, what you can, you know, draw it up on the computer, and like I say, that it'll transfer to the plasma cam and it'll be cut.
Right.
So yeah, no, anything that, you know, you recommend, we can take into consideration and have it redesigned, basically. Not a, you know, crazy amount of effort goes into this in comparison to what, you know, the design studio did prior to this, no.
Would you guys like to see ducks, or, I mean, on something like that, and maybe the trees on another one, and
I would say that we have designs right now, like for us to talk about different designs and see it again and see which one we could say ducks. I mean, I don't have a vote in this one unless it's a tie, which I doubt. But I'll go ahead and give my input. You know, I think the archway, if we could go, Leon, if we could bring that up. The archway has the fish. You know, to me, I think just the Gainas River Park alone, I think that stands out. I don't know if we have to have any artwork within that.
Let me just mention something, you know, because we're discussing ducks. So Highlands did some artwork for the city that they're ducks, basically, you know, ducks and geese, you know. So we're gonna have 3 different art pieces, metal pieces that go placed and supported by basically poles, and they're a little bit high, like 13 feet of flying ducks and stuff like that. And just, I'm not sure if, I mean, it'll go together, yes, but it might be kind of like, you know, a lot of duck.
Okay.
Maybe not, it might be fun too, but I just thought I'd mention that, you know.
Okay, I didn't know nothing about that, so, I mean,
Well, we were supposed to be in the committee, but they never invited us. So,
yeah, I think I remember that committee, yeah.
So, you know, I think, you know, if you look at that picture there, I think, you know, Gainas River Park alone, so we've got to remember, there was a plan and design for this, right? This isn't something that, you know, I know we can talk about the past, but here we all got to think about the future, what the design was. Again, River Park, you know, it was a whole, if you really look at the plan and what that was supposed to be, encompass, I mean, there was outdoor amphitheaters, you know, I know Council Pro Tem Montoya, one of the goals was fishing, but now we got to remember, I don't think that park has been stocked since after the fires and the flooding and that because of, you know, so that's something to take into consideration. Again, it's the vision, you know, to me, what those that put this plan together it was an outdoor space to enjoy the wildlife, you know, the birds, the walk, the outdoors. So I think as we encompass this, we, you know, kind of take that into perspective. I'll kind of give you my idea. I think, you know, that area, I mean, I know we have the other side in Ward 1, but there's still more development that has to happen. So to put it on the north side of Bridge Street would kind of be, I mean, you have that nice thing, but then you go in and there's no walkway or anything like that, you know what I mean? So it kind of defeats the purpose. I think the south side of the walkway is pretty much, I mean, we have the lighting, now we have electrical. I mean, now's the time that we make that side right and complete it. See, we, as a city, sometimes I feel we do projects, and I hate to say this, but sometimes we half them. You know, and I think if we complete this and do it right, and then once that side is done, we move to the other side and focus on that. That would be the best. I know firsthand, you know, walking the area and that, you have motorcycles, and I mean, Chief could probably, you know, I know he's received calls from me where 4-wheelers and motorcycles and bikes are getting through that. So we even have cars sometimes, you know, and they get through those barriers off of 12th Street. So they're important, you know, to take care of this, and now we have a safe, secure area for those people that do want to walk. To me, I like that design, take out the fish. Of course, I mean, all I have is an opinion here.
Yeah, the fish wouldn't be on that particular one there.
But I like that one because you're gonna have the ducks, you're gonna have that 12th Street, you know, maybe we do the north and south side, you know, something similar to this. I don't know how you guys feel. And then the one off 12th Street, you know, I get it, you know, the people of our community know, you know, when they stock it, so they're gonna know. So maybe the 12th Street one have fish because, you know, I don't see tourists coming in through 12th Street and they're saying, well, you know, there's a fish there, let's go fishing. I think that's a fair, you know, so we come up with a design tonight. That's my input. And now at this time, you know, leave it up to you guys to battle it out on what design you guys want.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Casey?
I love the design with the birds in it. I think that's really very nice. But I agree with the mayor also that on the arch itself, that the fish be eliminated.
Yes.
And just. But The rest is just, I think, very nicely done, and I would like that. I also like that one with the trees. I can't really tell what is on the side. Are those birds?
No, those are just basically like, what would you call it, decorative.
Corners, say,
Oh, okay.
but, I mean, we could put whatever, you know, I just,
Yeah, I would just take the fish out of the arch again.
Yes.
too. Yeah, and I think that's fine. And then the others that have the fish, you know, yeah, you can.
Because off
put
12th
that up
Street,
on
it'll
12th Street
face
where people are
this way, right?
fishing.
When they come in, they'll see that first thing.
Yeah.
I think that.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we do that.
Yeah. How about the finish? You guys okay with the rust patina?
Yes, I think
finish?
that's a very good idea too, because it'll
Is that fair?
protect any graffiti or
Yeah.
somebody that wants to spray paint it or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be easy to clean off of it, like I say, a flappy disc on a grinder, you sand it off and, you know, there's ways of rusting metal immediately
Right.
with different process of uric acid and hydrogen peroxide, some do it just peroxide, and it rusts it immediately once it's clean.
And just one last question. Emergency response, something happens to somebody there, they'll be able to
Well, I
quickly.
did get with Chief on that, and he didn't really have a height requirement like Chief, and could let him.
Yeah, or- You mind, Chief? Do you-
Mayor and council. Arnold met with me about 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now, maybe, on these designs, and after going on and reviewing them, we can get through with our Polaris, which is what we use to respond on the Riverwalk. It will not affect our response whatsoever.
and fire would have, the keys to the gates as well, in case you need to get a wider vehicle in there for emergency response. Yeah, and, the opening on like that particular one there is 14 feet opening. The one on 12th Street will be a 20-foot opening, so we
Can go through with a greater or wider equipment if needed.
Great.
And then parks would also have, you know, key of course, where they can access it to do their maintenance on the Riverwalk and area.
We had a motion.
How about the logos on both sides? You're okay with that?
Yeah, those are fine. It was just the fish that bothered me.
So was it this one, that one? The one with the
This
trees
is,
and birds?
this is the one with the birds eliminate the fish, okay,
For Bridge Street.
For Bridge. and
for Bridge
Independence.
Street, right?
Right.
And then the one with the fish everywhere, that would go on 12th. And then the other one with the tree would go on Independence.
That one.
Motion by
Second
Counselor
motion.
Casey, second by Pro Tem Montoya. Roll call.
Counselor Olivari? Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to point out, that this is gonna help our Parks Director and our city staff for vandalism purposes, and now that we do the Rio de las Luces this next year, now we have electricity all along there. We will be having electricity all along there. So whomever does any displays, they'll be protected from vandalism as much as possible, no? So, and then we have lighting, solar lighting that's there too, so this is a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just
Thank
want to
you.
add to that, I'm excited to see lights on those.
Oh, you're
when
right,
they
yeah, we
look,
could light
'cause
those
it's gonna be
archways up.
awesome.
It'll look nice, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to item number 6, request approval of the surplus from a 2018 Semi-N Trump trailer purchased by the Solid Waste Department and approve the removal from the inventory and to also authorize the sale through advertisement by a sealed bid process. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor and council, so this particular trailer has not been utilized in 5 years. It was a purchase that was made, didn't work out for the operation. It's a little, pretty much really unsafe. It's a type of trailer that raises up really high, and once you raise it, it becomes really unstable. So out at the landfill, you're dealing with you know, uneven ground, and then it's also spongy. So when it shifts a little bit, it's dangerous. Somebody's gonna, flip it over and possibly get hurt, or it's a huge liability, and that's why, it hasn't been used in all these years. It's almost in new condition. I think it only got utilized a handful of times maybe, judging by the wear of it. Lucas will probably attest to that. But anyways, it's been an ornament for, approximately 5 years. And, we'd like to, remove it from the facility and the grounds. And, we figured if we went this route, of course, the city, hosts, sales, auction sales, but we wanted to remove this trailer immediately. And, the best way of doing that would be to go out for advertisement, accepting sealed bids on it. And then in that language, we'll say there that the city has a right to refuse any bid. So if we get, only low bids, then we wouldn't sell it. So I have a value on it, and we'd like to get close to that value, of course. But again, if we don't get the right bids, then we'll reconsider, not award the bid.
Thank you, Arnold. Pro Tem Montoya?
You know, 2.5 years ago, as a matter of fact, Mr. Lucas Marcus was the director, and we went by there and we were touring the grounds, and this trailer stuck out.
Brand new. I said, so how come we're not using it? Well, you just mentioned why. And I'm glad that finally, we're gonna get rid of it. We should have done this 2.5 years ago. We shouldn't have never bought it, but either way, I thank you all for doing this, taking it upon yourselves to move it forward, and let's get rid of it and put that money to use. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? That's good. We needed to do that. Thank you guys for taking care of that. But with that, I want to request to approve that dump trailer, item 6.
Motion by Councilman Ulibarri. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Casey. Roll call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Olivari, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, consideration to approve the restructuring of the Executive and Human Resource Department organizational charts by removing the safety officer position from Human Resource and adding it under the direction of the Executive Office. Mr. City Manager Montgomery.
So Mayor and Council, again, my intent behind this request was to move the safety officer position out from the Human Resource Office and bring it under my purview for supervision. This is not based on the managerial background or anything like that, but I would like to make sure that Human Resources has the ability to focus strictly on human resource needs, the hiring process, training, and so forth, and bring the safety officer under my purview. Again, I think there could be more connection between myself with all of the departments and how the safety officer position relates to those positions. And so there would be no cost to the city, it's just a structural move.
Questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the restructuring of the Executive and Human Resources Department organizational charts by removing the safety officer position from Human Resources and adding it under the direction of the Executive Office.
Second,
Motion
Mr.
by
Mayor.
Councilor Casey, second by Pro Tem Montoya. Roll call.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 8, request approval to change the grant writer administrator position to program coordinator and move the position to the finance department.
Mr. City Manager.
So, Mayor and Council, this position originally resided under community development and has not been posted or funded for quite some time. The purpose of trying to move this position under finance is to try to prevent some issues that I've found in the past, and that is change orders going through or being processed by departments and not having much review. Also, this position would oversee the procurement officer and the grant consultant, Mr. Archuleta. It is not to replace Mr. Archuleta. It's a supervisory role, again, to look at our change orders and make sure that they're being done appropriately, assist with RFPs, also take on all budgetary line item transfers so that those are no longer done within departments. And for me, this is a way of bringing in some closer audit controls. And again, there is no cost to the department. This has been built into the budget already.
Questions or motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to request the approval to change the grant writer administrator position to program coordinator and move the position to the finance department.
Motion by Councilman Martinez. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Olivari. Roll call.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, consideration to approve the restructuring of the utilities organizational chart by removing the gas division and creating a gas department and adding a gas director, compliance officer, and an administrative assistant too. Mr. City Manager.
As Mayor and Council, after having gone through several audits through the Utilities Department, it really became evident that we need to have specialty focus for gas, for water, for solid waste. This would not have a monetary impact to the city. It's just a restructure of the positions and putting a director over the gas utility department.
And again, council, this is just changing the organizational chart. I know we do have an item later on in the meeting, so this is just changing the chart for now. Questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the restructuring of the utilities organizational chart, removing the gas division and creating the gas department and adding the gas director, compliance officer, and administrative assistant too.
Motion by Councilor Casey. Do I have a second by Councilman Martinez? Roll call. Pro Tem Montoya.
Yeah, so Mr. City Manager, this gas director will still be under the utilities director or under you?
No, sir, the gas director would now become a director role, and it would operate independently of a water utility director or solid waste director. It would be a new department.
Under you?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Roll call.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Item number 10, request approval to change the scope of work for City Hall restoration with AGM Construction. Mr. City Manager.
So Mayor and Council, this request is for a scope change and not a monetary request. When the city went through the mold remediation process, a purchase order was established back at that time for about $86,000. And that was to focus strictly on removal of sheetrock, tile, and so forth to get to the mold and be able to remediate that matter. Then a second quote and proposal was provided to council and approved for $89,000 to do the construction repairs within the building. When that quote came in, AGM failed to include the 2 bathrooms and the drain basin area in the quote. AGM came forward with a request of an additional, I'm going from memory here, but I believe it was $42,000. I'm coming forward asking for a scope change, and rather than increasing the purchase order by $42,000, we remove the upstairs furnace replacement and the ductwork replacement in the building, so it'd be a scope change. The reason I selected those 2 items is the furnace itself is operational in this upstairs area. Also, the ductwork itself has been cleaned. The asbestos was removed from it. The tape to hold the joints together can be easily replaced, and that ductwork could continue working without any issues. And rather than, again, increase the construction costs, keep it at the $89,000, based on the original quote. And we would at that point replace the windows, have the bathroom and the drain area repaired, and the sheetrock under the windows.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the change of scope of work for City Hall restoration with AGM Construction.
Motion by Counselor Casey, a second.
One second.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call and then roll call.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
No.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. City Manager, the other stuff, would you, based off of the need, we'll do that internally or how?
Yes, sir. The only
Or
thing that at
to
this point that would need to be done is the tape to the ductwork, and that would be done internally.
Thank you.
Moving on to our last business item, request approval of out-of-state travel for City Manager Tim Montgomery to attend the ICMA Annual Conference in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania from September 20th through September 26th, 2024.
Casey?
I want to congratulate Mr. Montgomery for doing this because in the 6 years that I have been on the council and several city managers that I have worked with, you are the first one that has actually taken the initiative to follow the charter and start working towards your certification through the International City Managers Association. Sorry, I was going to say administration. It's association. Thank you so much. I'm very happy that you're doing this, and I commend you for it. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the out-of-state travel for city manager to go to the ICMA annual convention.
Motion by Counselor Casey. Do I have a second? Second by Pro Tem Montoya. And I just want to add, apologize to the council. I know Mr. City Manager come in June, he was ready to do all this, and with everything that we, experienced through the chaos and the emergency, so, he was way ahead, even though we're here in August, he was way ahead this, so thank you, Mr. City Manager. Roll call. Pro Tem Montoya.
Yeah, Mr. City Manager, can you just give us a report when you come back?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya? Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we convene into executive session in accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H2. Limited personnel matters for the discussion of the appointment of the Water Utilities Director, Gas Utilities Director, and Community Services Director.
We have a motion by Counselor Casey. Have a
Second,
a second by Pro Tem Montoya. Roll call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari stepped away. I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to return to regular session.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we return to regular session after having been in executive session pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15H, D1, to discuss the appointments of Travis Martinez, David Marcus, and June Tafoya.
Thank you.
No action was taken.
Thank you. A motion by Counselor Casey. Do I have a second?
That's right.
Second by Counselor Ulibarri. Roll call.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari? Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our executive session action items. Our first one is request approval to appoint Travis Martinez as a water utility director.
Mr. Tim Montgomery.
Mayor and council, so this item, it's a pleasure for me to bring forward and seek your recommendation and approval for Travis Martinez to move into the water utility director. Mr. Martinez stepped into the role during a very challenging time and has really proved his ability, his knowledge. His personality is really great for the role, and so I would just like to recommend him as the water utility director.
Mr. City Manager, and I totally agree with you. At that time, any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Pro Tem Montoya.
Mr. City Manager, upon your recommendation, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve Travis Martinez as a Water Utilities Director and change our organizational chart. Mr. Martinez brings a lot of good work ethics with him, honesty, integrity, and he knows the system now, and I think he's an asset to the city of Las Vegas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Pro Tem Montoya, second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Congratulations, Travis.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to our second item, request approval to appoint David Marcus as the gas utility director.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I would like to move that we approve the appointment of David Marcus as the gas utility director.
A motion by
Second,
Councilor
Mr. Mayor.
Casey, second by Councilman Ulivari, and I just, Mr. Montgomery, I guess, with your appointments here, there's no question, so I won't even give you the ability to speak, but go ahead. I mean,
If I may, Mayor, I just, David, again, was appointed to this role on an interim basis during a pretty difficult time. We were going through a gas audit that had some significant consequences, and David stepped in. I've really, really enjoyed working with you. You have tremendous ability. So many people are proud to have you there. So thank you for everything. I'm thrilled about this appointment. Thank you.
roll call.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Our next item is request approval to appoint June Tafoya as the Community Services Director.
Montgomery.
So the third and final one for tonight. So June Tafoya has also stepped into the role during a very challenging time during an audit. It took some work of convincing June to step in on the interim basis, but she's done a phenomenal job, and the Aging Long-Term Services is really thrilled by her work. So is the New Mexico Economic Development Department. She's just done an amazing job and pulled that department together. The staff is growing individually. Their knowledge base is growing. I'm just, again, really thrilled by her work and proud to seek this recommendation for her as the director.
Mayor,
Councilman Martinez?
Yes, I move to request the approval to appoint June Tafoya as the Community Services Director.
Motion
Second,
by
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Martinez, second by Councilor Casey. Roll call.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pro Tem?
You know, Mr. City Manager, you can't go unnoticed that, you know, these are tough decisions that you had to make for the betterment of the city of Las Vegas. These people, I can truly say that you trust him and that you have a good relationship with him. And the future of Las Vegas is in good hands. You know, these are people that are willing to move the city forward, help you out, make a good team, and I commend you for that, for doing that. Tough decisions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya? Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. I just want to add on, you know, I know there's always a hesitation, you know, when these director positions are afforded to individuals, right? Because there's always the worry, well, I'm only going to be here because of the politics. But I do want to assure, I think this governing body, you know, has supported 110% Mr. Montgomery's 4 bullet points on, you know, everything that he talked about tonight. You know, so as long as there's no malintent, we continue to have transparency and everything else that we talk about here, you know, never be afraid to say what's going wrong, what's wrong. You know, at the end, we're here to better this community, better the city. And, you know, mistakes, as Mr. Montgomery keeps saying, mistakes will be made, but it's what you do with those mistakes. Do you decide to, you know, sweep them under the rug, or let's fix them? So, you know, I'm very, very, you know, proud, and congratulations to all of you guys. You know, as we move forward, you know, I think we're in a good spot, as Pro Tem mentioned. You know, we might have had some changeover, but I think the leadership team that you're putting in place, Mr. Montgomery, is going to work out. And our community, I think, even with these individuals and interim, you know, we've seen some changes. So thank you, guys. You know, we're ready to move forward, and we're a team. You know, I'm going to keep stressing we're a team, all of us. So thank you, guys, and thank you, Mr. Montgomery.
Mr. Mayor. Motion to move to
Adjourn.
adjourn, yes.
Motion by Councilor Martinez.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Councilman Olivari.
Everybody's
The motion's adjourned.